most of the time, the athletes that we have that are consistent with strength work rarely come up with injuries. I mean, could it possibly be a coincidence? I don't think so. What's going on, folks? You're here for another episode of Coaches on Couches.
Being slouches.
We've got no slouches today.
No one to interview. No
more slouches.
Non-slouches, rather.
Oh, yeah, sorry, non-slouches.
We're the slouches. Yep.
Yeah, we're the slouches for sure.
So I guess we'll pretend to not be slouches today.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about how to start a strength program without completely demolishing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But first, shout-outs.
Shout-outs. Big shout-out to Dr. James Downing,
Bam.
President and Chief Executive Officer at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We've been working with him for almost 2 years now. He came to us with a goal of going he was trying to beat his PR. 1 hour, 2 minutes, 30 seconds in a 40K. And he destroyed that last year, set a very, very close to sub 1 hour 40K time last year. This year, just this past weekend, he demolished that, going 58 minutes, 11 seconds in the 40K out at the Record Challenge time trial in New Mexico. I mean, that's huge. 2 years ago, 2016, before we were working with him, he was at 1 hour, 4 minutes, 36 seconds of that race. So, what, over 6 minute drop?
Yeah, what's
in
the
2
mile an
years?
hour on 58?
It was like
11?
Close to 26, 25 and a half, somewhere around there.
Solid.
Yeah, great effort.
It's a
So,
huge,
shout out.
Yeah, that's clearly a testament of his discipline and desire to improve.
Oh yeah, yeah. He is up early every day, knocking out his, and he's a trainer guy. Like he's easy hour and a half workout on the trainer, easy.
Yeah, it may have a little something to do with his level of success in life in general, but who knows?
Another shout out.
Who else?
Ben King.
Ben.
We don't personally know you, Ben, but you get a shout out.
Heck yeah.
If you are not watching the Vuelta and you are a cycling fan,
yes,
it's been a great one. This is my favorite Grand Tour each year.
It's always the best Grand Tour.
Always the best. Hot, lots of climbing. And Ben King, the American, has won 2 stages already.
Bam.
After never having won a Grand Tour stage before. So, huge work, Ben. Keep it up.
Always smiling, that guy.
Always. Except after his last one.
Yeah, wow.
He looked like he was going to die. All right, what else we got?
So, we're going to jump right into this this conversation on strength work. We, if you don't know us, then you know that we are huge proponents of strength work.
Mm-hmm.
We pound the pulpit on strength work, beat the dead horse, however you want to say it. It is absolutely one of the biggest things that you can do to not only increase the longevity of your endurance sport career,
Yep.
But live a more functional life, and also, just be a durable athlete that doesn't get hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the athletes that we have that are consistent with strength work rarely come up with injuries. I mean, could it possibly be a coincidence? I don't think so. So, realistically, the first question becomes, why should you do strength work? And we won't pound it too much, but the number one thing realistically is durability.
For sure.
It makes you a more durable endurance athlete. Whether you're a runner, a cyclist, triathlete, it doesn't matter. It prepares your body to take on greater workloads, and then also take the pounding of those workloads, especially if you're a runner.
Exactly.
And you're constantly doing, even if you're only running 15, 20 miles a week, if you're throwing in strength work on top of that, that just increases your workload, and strength work is going to make your muscles, joints, tendons, everything more prepared to handle that pounding. That's not even counting the functional aspect to it, as far as increased mobility,
muscle activation
for, power output, whether you're running or riding and swimming. Like if the muscles are not activating and communicating correctly with your brain, then you're losing power, you're losing effort. It's just not as efficient as you could be. And that's not even we're not even talking about being super strong. We're just talking about those muscles actually doing the job that they're supposed to be doing.
Oh yeah, it's very easy to develop
level of strength.
It's very easy to develop imbalances in any sport, not just endurance sports, but any sport where you're just going through the same movement pattern. It's very easy to create imbalances. Certain muscles are going to start taking over and working more than others, and strength training is a great way to balance that out, which helps you decrease your risk of injury, and it's also a great way to work on actual muscle fire and movement pattern and help make sure your body's moving through a movement pattern that it should. Runners all the time start getting knee issues, patella tracking issues, and a lot of it is related to imbalances that have occurred that can be corrected with strength training. So
yeah, a lot of times when you get a problem in a joint, it is largely related to the muscles that stabilize that joint not being strong enough to do their job.
And there's so many people that have nagging back issues that.
Oh yeah.
Also something that obviously not every single situation's something that can be cured with strength training, but a lot of folks start noticing those issues going away when they focused on strengthening the areas of the core and even those muscles around it. So
yeah. All right. So that's our spiel. Let's jump ahead. Let's help folks out. So how would we structure pain train?
We're going to get a train overlay. The train overlay is going to come up.
Oh, yeah. How would we structure adding in strength training to somebody's program when they haven't been doing it? Because I'm sure that's one of the big fears that people get.
Exactly.
When they're considering doing strength training. They want to do it. They want to be durable. They want to prevent injuries, but they're just not sure how to add it in, where to add it in. So let's talk about first, how would we structure it and add it into somebody's training who hasn't been doing it?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes to, we just talked about why do strength training, and this is more so like, why do people not do it? Well, the big reason most people don't is they get in the gym or either don't have the knowledge of what to do, or they get in there and go, I'm going to get in shape in one day. I'm going to start pushing some heavy weight. And if your body's not used to firing those muscles, even if you're not using a lot of weight, it doesn't take a lot of weight to recruit muscle fibers that have not been working, and the soreness level that comes with that is huge. So people tend to go, oh wow, I went to the gym, I got so sore, all of my quality left, all my other workouts, it impacted my entire week. Now I'm a week behind. I'm never doing strength work again. So the first thing we say is you got to go super, super light with it. And don't go crazy with range of motion to begin with. The goal here is to focus on the first 2 weeks. If you can get it in 2 times per week, focus on technique, making sure muscles are firing in the correct pattern that they should. You're firing the muscles that should be working. So technique, learn the movement pattern, and then gradually, don't wait during the workout to see how you're feeling. Wait until 2 days later to see how to see how your body has reacted to that workout. It's a lot better, just like when we talk about pacing, it's a lot better to go super easy to start with and build than it is to blow it out, the first 5 minutes of a race or an event, and then just suffer the rest of the time. So go super, super light the first 2 weeks, and you can incorporate strength anytime during the year if you start really light with it. It may even be just one set of one exercise for each main muscle group.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, ideally, if you were going to put in strength training, you would put it in where quality doesn't really matter anymore. So like in the fall, in the winter, you're off season technically.
Yeah.
But you can add it in at any time of the year as long as you progress it properly.
Exactly.
And then there's really, you could add it in, wouldn't necessarily say add it in a few weeks out from a big race, but you can add it in 6-8 weeks out of a goal race, and it's still going to have benefits. You just have to progress it slowly, real slow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't be a hero the first time, but the next thing is you got to stay consistent with it. So
absolutely.
Most of the athletes we work with, 2 times per week, we try to make sure they're getting a total body workout in. We got some athletes that love doing strength work, and we'll add more in. We'll add in an extra core workout for folks. It all kind of depends on where they're at. But for the most part, if you can get it in 2 times per week, you're going to see a benefit from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we recommend 2 times per week. And the first 2 weeks, just keep it technique based and focus on that muscle activation and range of motion.
You can do most of it body weight. That's what we recommend a lot of times. If you're very new to it, go body weight and just work on the movements and the technique. And you're still probably going to have some soreness. I mean, that's like our disclaimer is there's going to be some soreness, but you've got to just kind of keep, just like you would if you're building up to do an event, a duration that you've never done before, training for a marathon. After that 16, 18, 20 mile run, you're going to be sore, but you're not going to quit running because of it.
Now, if you went from 0 to 16 miles,
you're in trouble anyways. You got other
you'd
things
be
to
in some
worry
big
about.
trouble. All right, so the first 2 weeks, we talked about that. Weeks 3 and 4, Dale, where do you progress from there now?
Yeah, so after a couple of weeks, you're basically, you want to start working in, total body, working in some upper body. We want to be well-rounded, even though, a lot of endurance athletics happens from the waist down. We want everything to be nice and strong and stable and balanced. It only takes one muscle being imbalanced to have to, for others to have to take control of and do its work, and then other things start to happen. So after a couple weeks, now we can start increasing the range of motion a little bit more on some of these exercises. So like on a squat, you could, you may go from a quarter squat now to like a full parallel squat position. So you're just increasing the range of motion, and that alone can create some more soreness. Because
for sure.
We did a workout 2 weeks ago.
Going deep.
Where it was just mostly body weight. If anything, it was, it was med ball, like a,
6
8 pound, 10
8
pound
pound
med ball.
Yeah.
And everything was super deep range of motion, super big range of motion. And people who have been doing our strength class for a long time were complaining how sore they were. Well, not complaining. They were saying how sore they were. And it was just, we went through ranges of motion that they hadn't done in a while. So
yeah, and when you do that, you force muscle fibers to now recruit that weren't recruiting beforehand. And they're now being stretched more and having to fire from a more stretched state. And you're recruiting muscle fibers that just aren't working. Yeah,
you're teaching those muscles to fire on a larger curve than they normally would.
Which is a huge benefit. So initially, that soreness is a sign of progress and a potential for increasing your performance. So don't think of it as a negative. Go slow so that you don't have debilitating soreness. But that soreness that you feel, that light soreness, is a reminder of potential gains that can be made.
Yeah. So that week 3 to 4, we still are working lighter weight if you get into weight at all. Again, we could start with range of motion, move to a little bit lighter weight, add some resistance now, but now you're focused on like higher repetitions. So don't freak out when you hear higher repetitions. As an endurance athlete, the odds of you gaining a lot of bulk by doing higher repetitions is pretty slim. Myself,
Dale can look at a weight and will put on size.
Yeah, but I'm genetically,
your body type is.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. You're not gonna gain bulk. You're actually, increasing the workload of those muscles, just like you are when you're riding or running. You're taking X number of steps or X number of pedal strokes. So we're just increasing the workload through higher repetitions. So we've gone beyond week 3 to 4. Now we're in week 5 to 6.
Yeah, and this whole time, let soreness sort of be your guide here on whether you need to scale back or increase a little bit more. But in week 5 and 6, that's when you can start upping your resistance levels. So you're already now working in an appropriate range of motion. If you're not sure what is appropriate, feel free to shoot some questions over to us. We can answer that for you. But you should be working a proper range of motion now, and so now it's a matter of teaching those muscles to fire a little more forcefully. So increasing your resistance will definitely help with that. And that's sort of your focus those next 2 weeks. And this is sort of taking you through your first 6 week, what we would call more of a general prep.
Yeah.
You're still keeping the amount of reps higher, so it's still more of a muscular endurance thing that's going on here. You're not going immediately to 6 rep sets and trying to do as much weight as you can. So still keep the higher numbers, the 12 to 15 to even 20 repetition number, but start increasing resistance so that you have that little bit of soreness, but nothing that's debilitating. And hopefully, by 6 weeks in, now you're in a rhythm, you've got a routine going.
Consistent.
You've been consistent, which is huge. And then there's a lot of options that you can do based on the time of year, what your goals are, what season your sport is in, to build from there.
Yeah, the point of this is to teach you how to get started in strength work and get consistent with it. And then we could do many, many more coaches on couches on strength work.
Oh, for sure.
So we won't go too much more into that. Let's talk real quick about where we normally put the strength training into somebody's program.
Yeah, because that's something as well that I touched on it at the start there. It's that you feel some soreness initially, and you're like, oh, crap, that affected my other workouts, so now I'm not gonna do it anymore. So first off, know that there is going to be a little bit of soreness. Go easy. We talked about that. But what we either like to do, so most of our athletes, their workouts will be typically on a Tuesday and a Friday is where we put most of the strength work for our athletes. You're going to want to kind of blend it around what your other priority workouts are. So what we'll end up doing is putting it on the same day as a priority workout, so that the body's already, it's a higher fatigue day. So we'll do that, and then I like having it on Friday because for most of my athletes, Tuesday's been a little bit of a harder day. They've had some time to recover from that. Friday we go through another workout, and then they head off into their weekend.
Yep.
So it's always sort of this blend of where you're at, what your training week looks like. But for the most part, the way we put it is Tuesday, Fridays for most of our athletes. But the big thing there, you'll notice there's a 2-day gap in between Tuesday and Friday. Yeah, if you're doing 2 workouts per week, it doesn't really necessarily matter which day you're going to be putting it on, but try to leave some space in between those. So a 2-day gap, and then you'll have a 3-day gap on the other side of that.
And generally speaking, I personally do a lot of the quality workouts the same day or the day before the strength training, because on the day of, that's less time for that fatigue from the strength work to set in, so you can get that quality in, and then 2 days later essentially, or the day before another strength session, now you've had time for that soreness or whatever to work itself out, so you can now get in another quality session. So quality sessions usually end up a lot of times Tuesday, Thursday, and the strengths are Tuesday, Friday. That's pretty much what you had laid out as well.
Yeah. And if you're someone who's really worried about it affecting your sport specific training, put it right after that priority workout. Yeah, there's going to be fatigue, but you're starting with strength training super light anyway, and so you're adding more fatigue on that day, but you're not affecting the quality. If it's a hard training day, odds are you've got some planned recovery coming up. You throw the strength training in right after that, so it's not affecting your workout, and you've got the extra recovery in between it. And so it's kind of a win-win there for you. So if you're just now getting started with strength training, throw it right after, on the same day, but it can even be after your priority workout.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, most of the time, you need to do the workouts you're not as excited about in the morning.
Yep.
Because as your day goes on and work gets crazy, family gets crazy, as you get later in the day, the motivation and the chance that those workouts that you're really not too psyched about happening really diminish.
Oh, for sure.
So that's just why
it's easy to find excuses on the
So that's
on the
just
not
why
fun
we
days.
try to get people to do strength training in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
You like to swim, bike, and run or run. So those are the things you're naturally going to want to do anyways. So we try to get people to do the strength training in the morning. So because we know that those other workouts are likely to happen in the afternoon.
Yep.
But like Brian said, you can just add it in, after that quality session. If you get committed to it and consistent on it, do it after. It's no big deal. My only recommendation there is not to lift heavy.
Yeah.
After a hard swim, bike, or run.
Oh, for sure.
Because the muscles are already acutely fatigued enough that your form and technique can suffer, and that we know, we won't go any deeper into it, but we know that is a recipe for disaster. So,
for sure.
So
that's just primarily if you're getting started with that strength training.
So another big thing, we've already said this, is just you've got to be prepared to just kind of let yourself adapt to it. You can't get the soreness, freak out, and quit. That's the story we see over and over and over. You gotta just, like anything else, just say this is just part of it. It'll all work itself out. And just stay consistent with it.
Oh yeah, the first time you actually feel that hamstring soreness because you now realize your hamstrings have not been doing as much work as you thought they were, there's gonna be soreness. You will notice it on your other workouts. That's why we said, best time is to incorporate it in your off season, kind of after you've transitioned, you're going into your prep for the next season, because now it doesn't really matter if you're sore or not. So that's the best time to put it in, but you just got to stick with it. Your body will adapt those first 2 to 3 weeks. The soreness is going to get less and less. So if you stay consistent, that soreness is eventually, our athletes now, it's to the point where, sometimes they'll get sore, but most of the times they're like, no soreness at all from it.
Unless we're in a specific block of strength where we're trying to increase absolute strength or, explosive strength or something like that. If we're in a much more strength maintenance type phase, then there's the people who've been consistent experience little, if any, soreness, unless we then go through generally it's a
different range of motion
where the range of motion is different than they've been doing. So otherwise, but the key there is that the folks that have the least soreness are the most consistent.
Oh, exactly, for sure. So 2 times per week. If you can get 2 times per week in, throughout the season, off season, year round. In the off season, if you want to go to 3 times per week, that's great. For single sport folks, it's a lot easier. Triathletes, it can be a little more challenging. Folks on race week, what we usually do is we'll either have them skip I'll have them skip the late week workout, or typically, just drop the amount of resistance your body's already built up a tolerance to. You're now going lighter than that. You're just working that range of motion, that muscle activation, making sure muscles are firing, that they're turned on and ready to go. So it's not about building strength on those weeks at all. It's about getting muscles to fire, go through a good range of motion. It's more of like an active stretching and activation day than it is go out there and kill your body kind of day.
Kind of in our the example we've been using this example forever because it really is such a huge. It's just a great example of what strength can do, and just in muscle activation. So we had an athlete who we found out through some strength exercises had a horribly inactive glute, and spent 6 weeks, 8 weeks kind of
focusing
on
that,
focusing on it, rehabbing it, and getting it stronger beyond the kind of rehab phase or physical therapy phase. And then once that glute was back activated and nothing had changed in his other training really, we saw an immediate, almost 300 watt increase on his max sprint. It was an amazing turnaround. But that was all just that one glute, that one prime muscle.
And that was just neuromuscular. That was just getting it to fire. It's not like he built up a massive amount of strength in his glutes. It was it was actually now participating in the movement.
Yeah, it was doing
and
job.
the power production. So don't don't underestimate the amount of risk you put yourself at by not having muscles fire from an injury standpoint, but also what you're leaving out there from a performance standpoint.
I think that's about it, man. We covered it.
That's most of it.
That's the fastest we've ever done a strength talk.
Exactly. And there's a lot of wormholes we could go down there, like how to periodize it, when to do max strength, when to start doing more power, explosive-based stuff. I mean, that's all stuff we can dive into more. Or we do a 2 time per week strength class. We've got 180 some.
We're approaching 200.
Yeah, like 45-minute workouts, total body strength, geared towards endurance athletes. So if you have no clue where to start or interested in testing that out, or would like us to shoot you over one of those hop strength workouts, just shoot us a private message or comment below, and we can send over details on that for you. If you have any other questions regarding, when you should put it in your training program relative to your goals, let us know. We're here to help.
Ask away.
All right, man.
That it?
I think that's it.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
We're out. Bye.